Has Hollywood actor Terrence Howard finally cracked the code on extraterrestrial life? After years of cryptic pronouncements, Howard breaks his silence with a shocking declaration: they are coming. Is this a publicity stunt, or is there more to the story? You might know him as an actor from movies like Iron Man, where he played Colonel James Rhodes, or the TV show Empire, where he starred as the ambitious music mogul Lucius Lyon. But beyond his acting career, Howard has a mind full of curiosity and unconventional ideas. Howard has often described himself as a thinker and a scholar. Despite his claims about studying chemical engineering, which have been met with some skepticism, he undoubtedly possesses a keen interest in science and mathematics. He frequently talks about his passion for understanding the universe, which includes his theories about frequencies and their connection to ancient knowledge. Terrence Howard has this fascinating idea he calls the 6,000-year-old secret. He believes that ancient civilizations like the Egyptians or the Maya knew things about the universe that we still don't fully understand today. Howard thinks these ancient people were really smart and had knowledge about special frequencies and mathematical patterns that could do amazing things. Imagine if you could play a certain note on a piano and it could unlock a secret door or solve a big mystery. That's kind of what Howard is talking about. He thinks that these ancient secrets have been forgotten or hidden over thousands of years, but he believes that if we can rediscover them, we could use this knowledge to do incredible things for humanity. For example, it might help us create new technology or solve problems we face today. Howard is very passionate about this idea and spends a lot of time studying and thinking about how these ancient secrets could be found again and used to make the world a better place. Even though not everyone agrees with him and some scientists are skeptical, Howard's ideas make people curious. They make us wonder what secrets might still be out there, waiting to be discovered. It's like a giant puzzle, and Howard thinks he has some of the missing pieces. Whether you believe in his theories or not, it's exciting to think about all the possibilities the ancient knowledge could hold for our future. Terrence Howard has some really fascinating ideas about the universe. One of his main beliefs is about something he calls frequencies. He thinks that everything in the universe is connected through these vibrations or frequencies. Imagine it like a guitar string vibrating and making a sound. Howard believes that these vibrations are happening all around us, connecting everything together. Howard says that if we could understand these frequencies, we might uncover hidden secrets about our world and ourselves. He thinks that ancient civilizations, like the ones that built the pyramids, knew about these frequencies and used them to do incredible things. According to him, this ancient knowledge helped them create advanced technologies and structures that we still can't fully explain today. For example, the pyramids are still a mystery in many ways, and Howard believes that understanding these frequencies could explain how they were built. In Howard's view, these frequencies aren't just random. He believes they are part of a larger pattern or design that ancient people understood better than we do now. This idea is part of what he calls a 6,000-year-old secret, suggesting that this knowledge has been around for thousands of years, but has been forgotten or hidden over time. By studying these vibrations, Howard hopes we can rediscover this ancient knowledge and use it to make new discoveries. He's very passionate about this and spends a lot of time thinking about how these ideas could change our understanding of the world. Whether or not you believe in Howard's theories, they definitely make you think about the mysteries of our world and what we might still have to learn. Let's talk about how Terrence Howard connects his ideas about frequencies to the possibility of aliens. Howard thinks that ancient civilizations like the ones that built the pyramids might have had contact with aliens. He believes that these extraterrestrial beings could have shared their advanced scientific and mathematical knowledge with humans a long time ago. This knowledge, according to Howard, was then encoded into various artifacts and structures we see today. He suggests that the pyramids and Stonehenge could be examples of this alien influence. These ancient structures are so impressive and mysterious that some people, including Howard, think humans might not have built them alone. Instead, he speculates that aliens might have helped or guided early humans, giving them the tools and knowledge to create such wonders. This idea isn't new. There are many theories out there that propose aliens had a hand in ancient construction projects. People have long wondered how early humans could have built massive structures with the limited technology they had. Howard's theory fits into this larger set of ideas, suggesting that the key to these ancient mysteries might lie in alien knowledge. Howard's beliefs are part of a broader curiosity about our past and the possibility that we are not alone in the universe. He thinks that studying these ancient sites and the frequencies they might hold, we could uncover clues about extraterrestrial life. This idea that aliens could have interacted with humans thousands of years ago is both exciting and thought-provoking. It makes us question what we know about history and what other secrets might be out there waiting to be discovered. In the end, whether or not Howard's theories are true, they spark our imagination and encourage us to look at the world with wonder and curiosity. They remind us that there's still so much we don't know about our own history and the universe we live in. And who knows, maybe one day we'll find the evidence that proves Howard's ideas right. Another aspect of Howard's theories involves numerology. Numerology is the belief that numbers have special mystical meanings. Howard is really fascinated by how certain numbers and patterns appear over and over again in nature and in the things that ancient civilizations built. He thinks these numbers might help us understand the universe better and believes that ancient people used them to hide important information in their buildings and artwork. One of the key ideas Howard talks about is the golden ratio. The golden ratio is a special number, about 1.618, which you can find by dividing a line into two parts so that the whole line divided by the longer part is also equal to the longer part divided by the shorter part. This might sound complicated, but it's actually found all over the place in nature and art. For example, if you look at the way the petals of a flower are arranged or the spirals in a sunflower, you'll see the golden ratio. Many famous artists and architects like Leonardo da Vinci have used the golden ratio in their work because it's thought to be naturally pleasing to the eye. Another important pattern that Howard is interested in is the Fibonacci sequence. This is a series of numbers where each number is the sum of the two before it, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on. The Fibonacci sequence also appears a lot in nature. For example, the number of spirals on a pine cone or a pineapple often matches a number in the Fibonacci sequence. The sequence is also related to the golden ratio because if you take any two successive Fibonacci numbers, their ratio is close to the golden ratio. Howard believes that ancient civilizations understood these numbers and patterns very well. He thinks they used this knowledge to encode important information into their structures and artwork. For instance, the pyramids in Egypt and the Parthenon in Greece both have proportions that reflect the golden ratio. He suggests that by studying these numbers and patterns, we can learn more about the ancient world and maybe even discover hidden secrets about our own universe. Howard's interest in numerology isn't just about looking at pretty patterns, though. He thinks that these numbers and sequences might be the key to understanding deeper truths about how the world works. He believes that by studying them, we might uncover new scientific knowledge, or even figure out how to solve big problems. For example, he wonders if there's a way to use these patterns to create new technologies, or to understand natural phenomena better. One of the reasons Howard's theories are so intriguing is that they make us think about the world in a different way. Instead of just seeing numbers as tools for counting or measuring, he asks us to consider that they might have deeper meanings and connections. This idea is exciting because it suggests that there are still mysteries to be solved and new discoveries to be made, even in things that seem familiar and ordinary. While not everyone agrees with Howard's ideas, they do spark a lot of curiosity and imagination. Scientists and historians may debate how much ancient civilizations knew about these patterns, but there's no denying that the golden ratio and the Fibonacci sequence appear in many surprising places. By exploring these patterns, Howard encourages us to look more closely at the world around us and to wonder about the hidden connections that might exist. Howard's theories about numerology and the significance of numbers open up a fascinating way of looking at the world, whether or not you believe that ancient civilizations encoded secret knowledge into their structures. It's fun and interesting to think about how these patterns connect different parts of our lives. And who knows, maybe by studying these numbers, we'll uncover new secrets about our world and our place in the universe. So the next time you see a flower, a pine cone, or even a beautiful piece of art, remember that there might be more to it than meets the eye. Howard's ideas are definitely interesting, but not everyone agrees with them. In fact, most scientists and researchers don't believe in his theories because they think they are more like guesses rather than proven facts. Let's explain this. In science, people follow a process called the scientific method. This is a set of rules to help them figure out what's true and what's not. It starts with asking a question about something you observe. For example, if you see a plant growing towards the light, you might ask, why does the plant do that? Next, you make a guess or hypothesis about the answer. Maybe you think the plant needs light to grow, so it moves towards light. Then you test your guess with experiments. You might put one plant in the light and another in the dark to see what happens. You observe the results and measure them. If the plant in the light grows more, you might be onto something. Other scientists can do the same experiment to see if they get the same results. If anyone gets the same results, your guess has become a strong theory. Howard's ideas don't always fit into this process. He makes big connections between things like math, music, and history that are really creative and different. For example, he might say that a certain pattern in music is also seen in how planets move in space. That sounds cool, but it's hard to test or measure in a way that scientists would accept. Scientists like things they can see, measure, and test over and over again to make sure they're right. They want to be sure about their answers, not just take guesses. Howard's theories are hard to test like that, so many scientists think his ideas are more like fun puzzles or interesting stories, rather than real science. But even though many scientists don't agree with Howard, they still find his ideas intriguing. They appreciate that he's passionate and that he tries to connect different subjects. Imagine if you're really into music and you start seeing connections between your favorite songs and the way math works. That's exciting, and he can make you see both music and math in a new way. Howard does this with a lot of different subjects. By looking at different angles, he can encourage people to think outside the box. This means not just accepting what everyone says is true, but exploring new ideas and seeing if there might be something more. This kind of thinking is important because it's how new discoveries are made. Sometimes big breakthroughs in science start with someone having an idea that no one believes at first. Hundreds of years ago, people believed the Earth was the center of the universe, but then a scientist named Copernicus had a different idea. He thought that the Earth and other planets moved around the sun. At first, many people didn't believe him because it was such a strange idea, but he kept studying and collecting evidence, and eventually people realized he was right. So, while Howard's ideas might not be accepted by scientists today, that doesn't mean they're useless. They inspire people to think creatively and explore new possibilities. Even if his ideas don't turn out to be true, they can still lead to new ways of thinking and maybe even new discoveries. Howard's theories are fascinating and make us look at the world in different ways. However, because they don't fit into the strict rules of the scientific method, most scientists don't accept them as real science. But his enthusiasm and ability to connect different subjects are valuable because they encourage us to think differently and explore new ideas. And who knows, maybe one day a wild idea like Howard's will lead to a major breakthrough. Terrance Howard's journey into these unusual ideas is not just something he does for work, it's also something very close to his heart. He's talked about different things that have happened in his life, which he thinks show that these hidden truths really exist. For example, he has had special moments where he suddenly felt like he understood really complicated ideas about the universe. These moments have made him want to learn even more. Terrance's search for knowledge is not just about reading books or studying hard, it's about looking inside himself and thinking deeply. He believes that through meditation, which is a way of calming the mind and focusing, he can uncover secrets about the world. Meditation helps him feel connected to these big ideas and gives him a sense of peace. But it's not only meditation that helps Terrance on his journey. He also spends a lot of time reading and studying different subjects. He enjoys learning about science, math, and other areas that can explain how the world works. By combining his personal experiences with what he learns from books and studies, he feels he can get closer to understanding the mysteries of the universe. Terrance's journey is both professional and personal. As an actor, he has to understand different characters and their emotions, which makes him naturally curious about people in the world. This curiosity drives him to explore deeper questions about life and existence. He doesn't just want to be a good actor, he wants to be someone who truly understands the world around him. His personal life has also played a big role in his quest for knowledge. He's faced challenges and had unique experiences that have shaped his views. These experiences have made him more determined to find answers and understand the bigger picture. He believes that by sharing his journey and what he learns along the way, he can inspire others to start their own journey of discovery. Terrance's journey is ongoing. He continues to meditate, study, and reflect on his experiences. Each day brings new insights and ideas, and he's always eager to learn more. His story shows that the search for knowledge is a never-ending adventure. It's not just about finding answers, but also about seeking questions and being open to new ideas. Terrence Howard's journey is a mix of exploring outer space and diving deep into his own mind. It's a personal adventure where he tries to connect the dots between his life experiences and the bigger questions of the universe. This quest for understanding is what keeps him going, both in his career and in his personal life. He hopes that by sharing his story, others will feel inspired to start their own journey of learning and self-discovery. When someone famous like Terrence Howard talks about unusual beliefs, it gets a lot of attention. People are interested in what he has to say because he's a well-known actor, and his opinions can surprise or fascinate many. The reactions on what he says have been quite varied. Some news outlets and people are curious about his ideas. They think his beliefs are interesting and make you think about things in a new way. These people and media sources might write articles or make videos that explore what Terrance is talking about. They might say, hey, this is different and worth thinking about. They might not always agree with him, but they find his ideas fascinating and worth discussing. They treat his beliefs as something new and exciting to consider. On the other hand, there are also people and media who are more skeptical about Terrance's beliefs. Skeptical means they don't really easily accept what he says as true. These critics might say, where's the proof? Or these ideas don't have scientific evidence. They question the truth of his claims and point out that his ideas might not be backed up by science. These people think it's important to rely on proven facts, and they worry that Terrance's ideas might mislead people if they are not based on solid evidence. Despite the mixed reactions, one thing is clear: Terrence Howard's willingness to talk about his beliefs has started a lot of conversations. People are discussing his ideas, whether they agree with them or not. Some might even start thinking about their own beliefs and how they see the world. It shows that when someone famous talks openly about their personal ideas, it can get a lot of people thinking and talking. So, whether people are curious, critical, or somewhere in between, Terrence Howard's unusual beliefs have definitely made an impact. They've sparked curiosity and debate, showing how powerful and influential a famous person's words can be. His example teaches us about the importance of being true to ourselves and the value of sharing our unique perspectives with the world. Howard's theories can be compared to some popular ideas you might have seen on TV or read about. For example, there's this concept called ancient astronaut theories, which you might know from shows like Ancient Aliens. These theories suggest that a long time ago, aliens came to Earth and shared their advanced knowledge and technology with ancient humans. People who believe in these theories think that aliens helped humans build strange structures like the pyramids, or taught them things about science and the universe that they couldn't have known on their own. Howard's ideas are a bit like those ancient astronaut theories because they also involve advanced knowledge and mysterious forces. However, Howard adds his own twist to these ideas. He talks a lot about frequencies and mathematical patterns. Frequencies are like the vibrations or waves that can be found in sound and light, while mathematical patterns are the repeating numbers or shapes that you might see in nature, like the spirals in a seashell or the symmetry of a snowflake. In Howard's view, these frequencies and patterns are a key part of understanding the universe. He believes that they hold important secrets and truths about how everything works. Just like the ancient astronaut theories suggest that aliens gave humans special knowledge, Howard thinks that these patterns and frequencies are special clues that can help us unlock the mysteries of the world around us. So, while Howard's theories share some similarities with the ideas you might see on shows about ancient aliens, they also stand out because of his unique focus on the science of sound and math. He combines these elements to create a different way of looking at the world, one that is both fascinating and thought-provoking. Whether or not you agree with his ideas, it's clear that Howard is trying to make sense of the world in his own way, using a mix of popular theories and his own unique insights. Terrence Howard's belief about aliens and hidden knowledge might seem unusual to many, but they reflect a broader human desire to understand the unknown. Throughout history, people have always sought to explain the mysteries of existence. Whether through science, religion, or philosophy, Howard's theories are a modern take on this timeless quest. They remind us that the world is full of mysteries waiting to be explored, and that sometimes thinking outside the box can lead to exciting new discoveries.
Remember, Nikola Tesla said if mankind understood the magnificence of the numbers 3, 6, and 9, he would have the keys to the secrets of the universe.
What do you think a black hole is?
It doesn't exist.
We've tried to keep this secret. What gives you the right to reveal it? And I said,
you didn't make enough money to get access to this information.
Terrence Howard's journey reveals groundbreaking ideas about the universe. He challenges the concept of infinity explores the interconnectedness of all life and questions established scientific and spiritual beliefs.
Like if you picture dropping a pebble into a pond or a pool, everything expands in these longitudinal waves,
Right.
perfect spheres, unless there's something else in there. But when it hits the edge, it all starts bouncing its way back. And when these returning waves meet expanding waves, that's when we get our first geometry. So this is the proof that the universe is not infinite, but finite. Because you could not have shape without the returning waves, and the waves would not return unless it was bouncing off of the edge of something.
Terrance Howard presents a bold theory. The universe is one great being, a single cell within a vast superorganism. He explores the idea that we are not separate entities, but interconnected parts of a whole. Drawing from the teachings of Jesus and Buddha, Howard challenges us to recognize our own divinity and act as if we are the creators of our reality.
We are all just one great being.
Yeah.
That's what they forget. We're not separate. The universe is probably one cell inside of some superorganism.
Right.
And we're just trying to make sense of it. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing that we're making sense of it. But everything is just one great being. We're all God. That's what Jesus was talking about. That's what Buddha was talking about. It's recognizing the divinity in you. What I did as a child, I said, I'm going to, instead of waiting for the Messiah to show up, what if everybody picked up their torture stake and behaved and did the things that they had expected the Messiah to do? What if everybody just for one day walked around and behaved as if they were God himself and did the things that they would expect the Creator? And we know God can't just be a male because no man can produce a child without a female. And in nature, an animal isn't given horns unless it needs them. So our society as humans, we wouldn't be given this information right now unless we needed it, unless it was necessary for our continued existence and survival. We're about to destroy our planet, but with this, you don't need to. You don't need to, because now we know how to use the universe properly, where you can multiply that gun, we get more energy out of it than we put in, which physics says is impossible, and they gave me the patents to it.
Terrance Howard offers a revolutionary perspective. The universe is alive, and everything within it is a piece of the divine. He challenges traditional views of death, asserting that our actions reflect the essence of God. By choosing to do good, we align with divine goodness. Our missteps reveal the enigmatic ways of the universe.
But we see everything as dead because of what the Bible said. Because it breathed into life, and the universe is just one big nothingness of dead. There's nothing dead in the universe. Everything is alive and everything is a piece of God. So when we do good things, then God is good. When we do bad things, God works in mysterious ways. It's just how we are behaving. And we can all take the conscious level and recognize, okay, somebody's got to do the right thing. And if you do the right things happen. And you're going up against the stream of mankind, but I've got the entire universe behind me. I have the universal phenomenon and observable evidence and data that stands behind it, and 97 patents and trademarks and copyrights and multiple industries that I've invented. Nobody else have ever invented tangential flight and the ability to fly or unlimited midair bonding.
Divinity is a part of us. Our divinity is the part of us that's ancient, it's timeless, it's ageless. It is where our creativity, our intuition, our imagination comes from. And it's what sets us apart from every other form of life. And as we get in deeper into the biology of how it works, we can only access our divinity through our bodies, through the DNA antenna of our bodies and the cellular structure of our bodies. There is a movement to replace our bodies, the transhuman movement, to replace our bodies with synthetics, with chemicals in the blood, sensors under the skin, computer chips in the brain, artificial intelligence. And by virtue of doing so, it steals from us our ability to access this part of us, our divinity.
And you heard me say that 1 × 1 = 2.
You're getting a lot of trouble for saying that.
Let's understand the meaning behind it.
Yep.
If to multiply means to make more, to increase a number, how can 1 × 1 = 1 be part of the multiplication table? Doesn't that cancel out the very first laws of motion? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So I was like, how can 1 × 1 = 1? I went to the calculator, and if you go to your calculator, you put 2 in, hit 2.
So you got to turn it
Turn it
sideways
to the
so-
side, turn your calculator to the side, hit 2,
All right.
and then go to the square root, which is on the far left, second column, third one from the top.
Okay.
Second one from, second,
Third
third,
from the
third
top.
one from the top.
Yep.
You'll see the square root of 2, hit it. It says 1.414213562373095.
Yep.
Now, I want you to cube it,
Cube,
hit x to the third,
which is in the third column.
and I want somebody else to hit ×2.
Okay, so I'm cubing mine.
You cube it, you're gonna get 2.828427121746190.
Okay.
That's the same value you get when you multiply it by 2. Now do me a favor, divide it by 2, divide by 2, hit equal,
Yep.
and cube it again, hit x to the third.
It's 2. Mm-hmm.
Divide by 2, you get back to 2.828427121746190. Divide by 2, hit equal, go back to x to the third. You're gonna see this loop. You're gonna go back from 1.414213562373095. You'll be back at 2.828427121746190. That's like saying x cubed is equal to 2x, which is equal to x plus x. That's an unnatural equation. But every quantum physics and quantum mechanics theory and equation is based off of that mathematical fallacy, that lie. That's where the matrix, that's where it doesn't fit. And that's just one thing. And that's at the very beginning of our math. So they tried to call me crazy about bringing this up, but it's crazy to think that to multiply, you can have 1 × 1 = 1. And then what about multiplying by 0? How can something times nothing equal nothing? How can my hand go through nothing and disappear? What's happened to the laws of conservation of energy? How can you multiply by 0, but you can't divide by it? You divide by 0, you end up with an infinity. Isn't multiplication an inverse operation of division?
That's what we've been told.
I've said a number of times, you show me a real straight line in nature. If everything in the universe, everything is expressed in motion, all motion expressed in waves, all waves were curved. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the greater the action, the greater the reaction. The greater the reaction, the greater the resistance. The greater the resistance, the greater the curvature. Because the universe is based off of equanimity, which Einstein left out in his theory of relativity, the balancing side of the gravity was caused by electric force. Electricity is always seeking a higher pressure condition. It spins northeast, is trying to get to the center of an area, the center of a cone. But the next electric wave is coming, so it gets pushed out, and as it's pushed out, it gets to the vortices. And that's on those pieces, those vortices. Now, instead of it spinning northeasternly, centripetally, it's forced to spin centrifugally, and it spins southwesternly. And it expands itself out, it decays, it keeps decaying until you get 4 magnetic waves that hit each other at 120-degree angles. At that point, they reconvert back into the electric field, and then they make their way back to their source again, whether it's the star, whatever star it came into.
Terrance Howard explores Walter Russell's theory that the Earth was born from the sun not formed from a cosmic field. He highlights the universal drift, where planets slowly move away from their stars. With precise calculations, Howard reveals it would take billions of years for Earth and Mars to reach their current distances from the Sun.
Walter Russell talked about the fact that the sun gave birth to the earth, that it didn't coalesce from some field. And the proof of this, do you guys know that the earth is drifting away from the sun?
Yeah, slightly.
This is the mistake I made at the Oxford, because they wouldn't allow me to bring my notes or anything. So I said the drift was 6 inches a year. It's 0.6 inches a year. So if you add up how long it would take the earth to move, and all of the planets in every solar system is drifting away from their primary at this same exact rate, like 1.5 centimeters. So this is a universal expansion that's happening with everything moving away. So them saying and the Webb telescope have proven that those galaxies couldn't have formed 13, 14 billion years ago. But if you would just add up linearly how long it would take the Earth to go from the sun to 93 million miles away. The number of years that it will take for the Earth to move 1 mile is 105,600 years. So that in order for the Earth to reach where we are at 93 million miles, it would take 9,820,800 million years for the Earth to get here. Likewise, Mars, at 147 million miles away from the sun, it would take 15,780,480 million years for Mars to get where it was. So at a given point, Mars was here in the Goldilocks zone. And now Venus is going to inherit the Goldilocks zone next. The sun will get, Mercury is under a higher pressure because they're still under the mistake thinking that there's a void in space. So they forget that Mercury is under the highest pressure possible. So it can expand. It's like hydrogen. It's like those octaves before hydrogen. So the atmosphere, the iron isn't able to release any oxygen and the oxides, but when you get to 67 million miles away from the sun, the pressure is a little less, but it's still so much higher than the pressure on Earth. It's like going deep into the very belly of the Earth. That pressure is so very high. And so now the clouds, there's a great deal of sulfur, there's a great deal of ammonia and all of those things in it. But once Earth moves to where Mars is, Venus is going to slowly move and will be right here. You know, in maybe 5 or 6 trillion years, Venus will be right here, and humanoids will appear again and unwind the same way. And that asteroid belt that we have right now between Mars and Jupiter, that used to be a planet. And I believe that they had humanoids that developed on there, the same way that everything, that's the periodic table. They call it the periodic table because these things happen according to periodicity. They happen under regular events. You change the motion and pressure conditions, the crystallization changes. We call it a different element, but it's the same substance. Like my hand is one substance, but if I do it like this and do it like this and do it like this, it looks like a whole different thing. And they can call it a different element, but it's the same element under different motion and pressure conditions.
So you believe that the sun is the origin of these planets?
Of all the planets. Every solar star
system
within its solar system gives birth to all of these other planets. This is what Walter Russell had talked about. This is what Neil deGrasse, and they attacked him for, because he talked about the drift, this natural drift, and that didn't make more sense. And they didn't have the idea of dark matter and dark energy then.
Right.
They didn't even come up with that. And now we understand 4% of the universe is visible, and 75% of it, 70% of it is dark energy, and 20-something% of it is dark matter, unperceivable things. And they say that's because they needed to figure out how would they get the spin.
And it's a thing that human beings have always done. Whenever human beings have gotten into a position where they're ruling over others, they are callous and evil, almost always, almost universally. There's not one instance of this amazing, benign, beautiful leader that transformed their society into this incredible utopia. It doesn't exist in history.
No. Animals and insects, not one of them are responsible for the eradication of any species on this planet.
Right.
Not one single creature from history, but mankind is responsible for the extinction of millions.
Even when animals are responsible for the extinction, it's because human beings introduced those animals into places where they didn't belong, like cats in Australia.
All the birds.
Yeah, they killed everything.
So this is man's interference, and it's based upon their lack of understanding. Because they don't know how the universe truly works, because their math has been off for so long, because their fundamentals are wrong, now everything has this expiration and there's a loss to everything when the universe is perfectly balanced, when you utilize it properly. Everything has an equal and opposite. It has to mate. Mating is a big part of what we do. The boron mates with nitrogen, and that's how the carbon happens. Everything inside of us, all our cells, they're mating. There's a relationship going on in it. Everything's alive.
What do you think a black hole is?
It doesn't exist. There aren't black holes. There's no spot where where energy goes in and never comes back out. There's no place in the universe where the information paradox occurs, where there isn't a balance. Something gets contracted and never comes out. That's not how the universe behaves. It comes in and it goes out. When Newton said that gravity pulls down, if he had with that apple, yes, the apple was attracted to like conditions on the earth. It was attracted to like conditions. If he had spent another week or 2 weeks watching that apple, he would have watched the gases go right back up to where they were equalized. Everything, if it comes this way, it has to go this way. You breathe in, you breathe out. It's filling in or pouring out.
Well, that's what I think, like in the beginning there was light, when they talk about that. If you were going to describe the beginning of the universe, even if you're describing the Big Bang, which there's a lot of speculation that wasn't necessarily the beginning, that there might be a continuous cycle of these events happening over and over again. But if you were talking about a creation story, you would say in the beginning there was light. Because there was a fucking enormous amount of light. It created the entire universe.
Literally.
Right. I think.
Which is all it says. And here's like, whatever they say that hell or Hades is in any of these religions worldwide, it is the perfect description for what a black hole is in real life.
It is. You fall through forever.
A bottomless pit.
Yeah. Where time doesn't exist.
Where time does not exist, where you don't die, but you don't exit. Where the information,
and it eats stars.
But we can have multiple of them, and everything will still be okay.
They're the center
That's
of every
the
galaxy.
flex.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
we're
the
fine
flex.
with them.
Right.
It's like if you live in Africa, you got to deal with lions.
What's this thing? Oh, it kills everything.
Right.
Everything what? Everything it touches.
Everything. It's going to get us eventually, but not now.
What, you mean you have two of them?
They find them floating around.
They find them.
They find them floating around.
Right.
I mean, they noticed them.
Yeah.
They noticed that they're out there floating around.
Yeah.
They found one that's so fucking big. We did this thing when we played a video of how small the Earth is in comparison to the sun, how small the sun is in comparison to giant stars, and how small giant stars are into the most massive, supermassive black hole that they know currently. It's bananas.
Our perfect habitat is so perfect that anyone universally with sense would say, whew, location, you know?
Like the greatest real estate agent ever.
If the moon or the sun were further back,
we'd be fucked. Have there been advanced civilizations before? How did we become us?
It's been a conversation at all points in time. Like,
But more people are having it now without fear of being labeled an idiot.
well, it's because information is now a free commodity, whereas in different points in history, it wasn't like that. Like,
It was protected.
You didn't make enough money to get access to this information. And no matter where you're looking, information is the driving force of almost every war and conflict. It was about the place that you conquered. And not only did you conquer them, but you got a chance to know what they knew. And that, you found, was more important than anything else. Our sun is not the biggest sun, right?
Not even close.
But it's the biggest sun we ever gonna see,
Yeah.
right? So it's the biggest fucking sun, right? But the truth is, no, it's way bigger. Like that. A thought went into picking this particular sun for this planet and the moon and the positioning of, much as if you were building a house, like you would put particulars in, like Kid Rock, to make sure that throughout the time period of history, you put a stamp and a mark on it.
Right. Yeah.
That's why if you were extraterrestrial, let's say, and you were going to build one building on this planet, it would be the pyramid.
100%.
Like, most people don't even understand that there was a whole outer covering on that thing, and gold capped at
Gold
the top.
cap,
Like
smooth limestone.
it was a planetary monument.
Yeah.
Right.
You might be right. It makes more sense than the idea that these people pushed those things into place and then got them hundreds of miles out of the mountain with ropes.
There are now proposals on the table, governmental agencies proposing by the year 2030 that all newborns be implanted with a computer chip in the brain. They say to give them the edge in business and in technology, and to be able to compete successfully in life. And when I say this to a live audience, I mean, I can see people's eyes. They say, not my babies. We don't want this. So there's a part of us. This is the generation, Andre. It's not going to drag on forever. We're at this pivotal point where the technology is at this stage where we are now making a decision. And I'm fascinated by this because it's never happened before. We now have the ability to make decisions that will not change so much the world around us, but the world within us forever, in ways that can never be reversed. This goes all the way down to the genetic level. And when we define human through a very specific quality of DNA, we now have on the table proposals for medications, for different kinds of medical applications that will forever change who we are genetically. And we don't even know what that means. We don't even know what it means to be human. We're about to give our humanness away to the technology before we even know what it means to be fully human.
Like, it's important in the checks and balances of the universe that liars not get to make complete narratives for themselves.
Are you not afraid about being blackballed again? These are some power people.
What do you mean again? These people are not powerful. Satan can't create anything. That includes blessings for his people. That's why, you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job.
I didn't come into this world the way everybody else does, I don't think. I used to think that everybody had the similar experience, but like if I asked you, what was your first memory in life? What would it be?
I don't think I know.
My first memory was almost like when you're dreaming and you're falling and you hit the bottom and you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first memory, but I didn't wake up here. I was inside my mother's womb. And I was about maybe 6 months inside the womb. And I'm like, okay, don't forget I'm here. Okay. Don't forget. You go to sleep. You wake up again. Now something's moving in front of you. And you're like, oh, that's my friend. But I had a different name for it. I didn't know it was my hand. But I knew I had a title for it. Go back to sleep, all of those things. Then ultimately you get ready to come out. I remember all of that.
You remember coming out?
Remember being compressed, and you want to panic, but you're flooded with like some serotonin and dopamine to where you feel relaxed. You go right back to sleep, and you remember being born. I remember being circumcised. I remember the whole nine, and that's where it started, in there. And then when I was about 5 years old, I had another dream, and the room filled up with like this fluid, a dark fluid, and I could see the ripples of it moving around, and there was a being there. And I remember being walked through that fluid with him, and I was trying to look up at him, and I couldn't turn my head to look at him. And he had his hand straight. I knew his voice, but I did not know who it was, but I felt confident and comfortable. And as we moved along this dark blue fluid path with like chartreuse covering the, you know how when you look into a pool and you see the ripples, and if you're at the bottom of the pool, you see the ripples overlapping. That's what it looked like. And then when we got to the end of it, he said to me, if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? Now, we were really poor. My dad had just gotten out of prison, for manslaughter. I didn't have much, but I said to him, I want to know how everything works. And at that moment, he used his left hand and he opened up the door. And there was this mansion, big brown doors. And inside of it was this crystalline flowers, big crystalline flowers, like a giant, like 5 feet across. And every time I tried to see his face, he would reach in and hand me another shape. And I was so fascinated with the shapes because they didn't look like the platonic solids. They didn't look like anything I'd ever seen before. And he would hand me these shapes, and each shape was different and amazing. And I woke up from that dream. But after that moment, anytime something strange would happen in a dream, I had the powers of inception. Anytime I would be naked at school, I would say, I'm not naked. I must be dreaming. And immediately I would run out of the school or run out of wherever I was, and I would find that mansion again. And I had access to all the knowledge. The proof of it is the 97 patents that I have now. The proof of it is the industries that I've innovated. It's like waking up, having a dream that you have a diamond in your hand, and out of nowhere, you wake up and you're hoping you're holding it, and you try and hold it and it's gone when you wake up. But the proof is all the stuff that I've been able to do now.
Human beings are still here, not because of our wise decision making. Like, nobody's story says that. We've gotten assistance along the way that we needed it, and we have implemented it globally. This is why those one world people exist, because it's a very powerful concept to have and far too lucrative and beneficial to not be attempted.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to run some global power organization, I would try to co-opt every single leader, try to suck them in, offer support, bring them out to wherever the fuck I have my big-ass meetings, fly everybody in private jets, talk about the climate crisis.
All organizations have to follow the same rules.
Yeah, that's wild.
Recruitment is an important facet of all.
We have to get some young global leaders.
Well, understand, this is the only reason that we can talk about these big Illuminati-like entities at this period of time. It's just because of time. Like, they aged out. Like, you can't get in new, so everybody got decrepit over there, and they can't exchange, really. through this period of history. And so that's how we ended up with the Bob Lazars and everything. Throughout history, you could really, it was much easier to get people to not tell nobody.
Right.
As part of your job. You know what I mean?
Well, think about the people that lived just before they translated the Bible from Latin. How many people couldn't read it?
Well, that was part of the experience that you were getting from church, was the fact that that it was being read to you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Not what we have currently, where you have the book and they have the book, but this person is literally reciting the word of God to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he becomes the holder of all that information and the only one.
All holders of all information
Yeah.
are that.
Yep. It's like a human pattern that people follow, even if they just run an internet company, even if they run a social media company. They follow that same pattern.
Well, because
Control.
everything in the universe, everything on this planet, everything that we could look at in the wildlife or in the plant life, or everything is a formula. Everything is that way.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, the science and math go together with the occult and alchemy, and all of these things are based on things.
The answer to probably the oldest question that we've ever asked, when we say, who are we? The translation of the first layer in the DNA, the introduction of every cell in our body, reads exactly the same. And it literally, this isn't a metaphor, it literally reads the words, God eternal within the body. God eternal within the body. And the name of God that's written in our DNA is exactly the same as it's written in the oldest spiritual and religious, our most ancient and cherished spiritual traditions. That name is actually written into the DNA of our bodies. So what we can say with absolute certainty.
So the jump that was made between people eating food that you had to kill yourself catching just so that you could put it over something hot so that you could get it where you could eat it, and eating it like you, that experience to seasoning your food and having it order from the best place because they
eating
do,
too much
right,
spaghetti so you get fat.
Right. That's part of the greatness of human experience, and has been that the part of being a king or being royalty through all civilizations was being able to experience the best culinary things. Because if you believe in God, that's one of the attributes that makes you believe in him, because every vegetable, let's say, that you would have, when it gets to the point where it would spoil and it would be useless and you'd have to throw it away, it becomes worth more money.
Because it's compost.
No. So
what do you mean?
Like if you have potatoes, right? And so you have potatoes, but now you got too many potatoes. You could get vodka from that. And if you have too much rice, you could get sake from that. And if you got too much wheat and barley, you can get. And everything that you could have too much of, we got too many grapes, you could get wine with that. That's why alcohol is called spirits, because it's literally a gift from God. Just something that's just for your milk. Once it's going bad, that's where cheese comes in. Like whatever it is you would be having as a commodity, grapes to raisins, wherever, like this is why believe mathematically because of the certain things that are just done for the enjoyment of. A lot of people that are atheists don't like God, and God would have to exist for them to not like it. So the whole thing is to believe in the Big Bang, you would have to believe that had happened several times throughout history, just because that's what we've seen from everything that's been created.
We don't see one individual unique thing that exists and is responsible for all things, except the Big Bang.
I'm trying to think of what the reasons are to not believe, but I can't remember what they are because it doesn't line up with anything. Like, and we would have had to have gone in space and there'd be no other planets, just this one.
Just that's it.
For this story to make sense universally. Like, we're at a terrible time in history to say, oh, we don't believe in people from outer space when we can go to outer space. Like, it's almost asinine to try to make both of those make sense.
It's a cabal. It's a consortium. They rock with who they rock with, and they don't with who they don't. But I'm not scared of being the competition any more than you were when you lined up across from a superior team. Yeah, on paper, they're a better team.
Right.
They have all the assets and resources and we don't. But let us get on the line, boy, and see if that factors in. I guarantee you it won't. Don't say I wasn't afraid. There's no such thing as a human being of not being afraid.
Okay.
There are certain human beings that understand that being afraid in no way stops you from doing what you got to do.
Okay.
So I was afraid, but I couldn't be that afraid because I knew what had happened with Jesus. I knew how it worked out. I knew that I wasn't in the wrong with how I was feeling, and I knew that I didn't have any bad intentions in it.
Right.
So I trusted God that it would work out.
Is when we forget who we are, when we think our differences are so great that separate us through the attempt to isolate us and break the social bonds, and we no longer know who we are, we need look no further than 50 trillion cells in the human body, and the first layer of every one of those cells, it literally says God eternal within the body. It doesn't say who God is, where God came from. And people have said to me, the rabbis came down really hard on me and said, we've tried to keep this secret. What gives you the right to reveal it? And I said, because I'm not a rabbi. And I said, if we were ever going to reveal this to ourselves, what better time than now? When we're on the verge of destroying the very essence of the humanists that we love and cherish. We're on the brink of war. This was in the 80s and 90s, right at the end of the Cold War, another war we were on the brink of. What better time to reveal this than now? And why wouldn't we want to tell ourselves that we are God eternal within the body? We're not some random process, the result of a random mutation, slow, gradual evolution. There's an intentional intervention and a signature to tell us about that intervention that literally says we are God eternal within the body. What does that mean? What does it mean to live your life as God eternal within the body? And what I've found is when people discover this, I see this in live audiences. I watch people's eyes and I can feel the vibe in the room, because now everyone has a challenge in their lives. How does God eternal within the body deal with this disease? How does God eternal within the body deal with the betrayal of the trust? And it's very different than how we're taught to think of it as mere mortal humans, is what somebody said to me once.